Hello, 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 and welcome back to another Conversations with JR. Our mission is to change people's lives with a single conversation. I'm happy that you've enjoyed me again today, and I hope that you are enjoying these last days of summer because I know that I am. I am going to bring to you a reading for one of my first books that I wrote about 8 years ago. Let me explain. On this journey of becoming an author, podcaster, YouTube channel influencer, as they would say these days, I was just writing. I was just writing for the pleasure of writing. Most of my writings are in the form of journals where I was ranting and getting out my feelings, and no one was reading them. It all happened, I think, between 2014 and 2015 when I wrote a post about Valentine's Day. I'm not opposed to Valentine's Day. I just don't celebrate that day for my own personal reasons. But anyway, I wrote this post for Facebook and I let a colleague of mine read the post, and she asked me, "Wow, this is great. Do you have a blog?" I only heard of blogs, that's why I'm laughing, but I didn't know anything about the world of blogging until this very good coworker introduced me to WordPress. My blogging name is Drag the Pen on WordPress, so I learned to navigate the world of blogging. One day I sat down in my house and I started write in a journal to cleanse myself, to begin the healing process from all the broken relationships, intimate relationships that I have had that have left me drained and feeling worthless and feeling like no one loved me and I would never have that happy ever after. Well, I wrote The Waiting Game when I was 54. I'm 61 years old today, and guess what? I am still single. I have not had that happy ever after, but however, I'm okay with that. And it took me years and years of understanding this journey, and the process of healing myself first before I can even enter in an intimate relationship. I had to be whole, 100% whole, and not held someone else responsible for my healing and not take out my aggression on every young man that crossed my path. So I sat down one day and I started this journal. And what happened was the journal started sounding like a narrative. Now, this is not an angry narrative. This is not pointing the blame narrative. This is not a woe's me narrative. My book, The Waiting Game, that can be read by men and women, couples, partnerships, situationships, anyone over the age of 18. This book is I'm reminiscing about relationship myths and all the ways that men and women, how we treat each other in relationships and how we live through these dysfunctional relationships and how we become emotionally broken because we enter the relationship emotionally broken from childhood trauma, relationship trauma, abuse, neglect, and so many other things that has happened to us. So we bring that into the relationship. And I had to learn that that was me. And in order for me to heal, I had to stop purging myself and letting myself go and wanting to heal, letting go of the anger, the resentment, the blame. I didn't want to live that way anymore. So there, I sat down, I wrote The Waiting Game, I got an author, and I self-published The Waiting Game. So today, I am so excited to share a reading from my first book, The Waiting Game. The Waiting Game details the relationship myth that women hear about throughout generations. Women are taught that men are not attracted to strong women and that a woman's primary role in society is to get the man and keep him interested. Women have to follow the rules of the game to be successful. Rule number one, use prime bait. Rule number two, catch the man. Rule three, keep the man no matter what characteristics he possesses. Any rules after that, the man plays the rest of the game. Therefore, if this task is not completed, we fail as women. This is what we are told in society. This is what I believe, that it was my duty to bait the man, to attract the man, to bag the man, keep the man, and do whatever I needed to do to keep that man interested. I was to let go of my self-esteem, my self-respect, my self-worth, my self-love, because it was all about I needed that man. And this is message that we have been telling women throughout society, that their identity, who they are, is the result of the relationship that they are in. And if they are alone, if they are self-sufficient, if they want a career, there's something wrong with you because you don't have a man, you don't have any children, you're not married. We are told as Black women, there is something wrong with us. Over the years, I come to understand that for me personally, none of that was true. Because all the relationships that I've seen in my family, aunts, uncles, grandparents, sisters, brothers, nieces, nephews, they've all been dysfunctional. They have all been dysfunctional because that's all we saw around us was dysfunctional relationship. Men ruling, women being oppressed. That's what I saw. So let me continue. This is a chapter from my book, The Waiting Game. It's called Pause. The unique thing about videotapes is that you can pause them so as not to miss anything if you need to step away. In my case, I was present when the pause button was pressed, but somehow the action just kept rolling. Someone must have pressed the play button instead of the pause button. Here he come into my life. Damon was the preacher's grandson. All the girls in church wanted him. He was the only male in a sea of young, thirsty girls. He played us against each other. I was not considered particularly pretty at 16 when I met Damon. My family labeled me an ugly duckling. They hoped that later in life I would blossom into a better-looking young lady. To add to this, I was constantly reminded by the other girls in church that Damon would not go for girls like me because I was ugly with a big forehead, nappy hair, and a big flat nose. Now keep this in mind. These are church girls. Above all, they are taught to be compassionate, not judgmental, and show unconditional love towards all mankind. Yeah, well, mean girls go to church too. Damon knew I was a weak link. The other girls wouldn't go as far as I would with him. I didn't know this. He told me all the nasty things he was going to do with the other girls. And later, when I discovered that none of them did what he said, none of this was true, I felt so stupid. Over the years, I developed a pattern of putting out instead of holding out. I started to feel as if this was the only way men would respect me. But I didn't know what I was doing was being easy. Wait a minute. I was giving them what they asked ask for. Hello? Just because they ask doesn't mean that they should get it. But how was I supposed to know that? You know the cookie in the jar until you are ready to offer them a taste? I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had to make the choice, that I was capable of making this choice, and that I should make this choice. So at the age of 16, how was I supposed to understand this? How was I supposed to understand choosing and stop waiting around to be chosen? I learned very late in life that I had a right to use my brain and not my vagina to process who would and who would not be a good candidate with whom to establish a relationship. Damon was my first, but it was not nothing special. It was not the romantic fairy tale that most mothers describe your first time should be. My mother never sat me down and talked to me about sex. The only thing she said to me was that she knew that I was sneaky. I felt hurt by her lack of mothering, and I didn't know what this sneakiness was. Special was not the word to describe my first sexual experience. I did not know what to expect or what to do. There was no romance, no foreplay. It was just Damon on top of me, pushing his way into me. As I laid still, he kept giving me instructions like, open your legs wider. He kept asking me, was he hurting me? And he was. But I wanted him to continue. I was sure that after this ordeal was over with, I would be the one that he chose amongst all the other girls in the church. When it was over with, he just got up and left the room. Where was the afterglow that I heard so much about? My mind was in a fog. Again, I did not know what to do. When he came back into the room, he announced that I had to get up, clean myself up, and go before his grandparents got home. Wow. My first lesson in wham bam, thank you, ma'am. When I got up, that's when I saw the blood. There was so much blood. I panicked. I started to cry. Damon pushed me towards the bathroom and went back to grab the sheets off the bed. As I stood there in the bathroom crying, Damon started to shower and told me to get in. I could tell by the tone of his voice that he was losing patience with me. I forgot he was concerned about his grandparents walking in on us rather than my well-being. Apparently, I was the last to know that the bleeding was a part of losing my virginity, or as some people would say, losing my innocence. There was nothing innocent about what we did. We were two stupid teens experimenting. Nothing was stolen from me. I willingly gave myself up in hope that Damon would be my boyfriend. The other girls would have to look elsewhere because I had my man. He was going to keep me coming back as long as I kept the cookie jar open. Little did I know, I was about to learn lesson 101. Never, and I mean never, think for a man. Continued to go to church for another year, and Damon did not come back to me just like that. It was over before it had a chance to start. The preacher said if I needed something, pray and ask God. So I prayed that he would come back to me. Another bad habit I developed, wanting men who did not want me. In the meantime, Damon had spread around the church how easy I was, and the other girls used this information to ostracize me. They labeled me a bad girl because of what I had did. I was no longer worthy to be in their circle since they were nice girls. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I left that church with a nasty taste in my mouth, and I never looked back again. Years later, I heard through the grapevine that those nice girls had married, but their marriages fell apart. had children out of wedlock, and blah, 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 and had husbands who cheated on them. All of this went on in God's house. People come to church because they are under the assumption that the church is a haven. On the contrary, I found no love in a place where love thy neighbor was being preached, but not practiced. I stepped into a world that the church warned would be unsafe, cruel, and loveless. I soon discovered that the world is not cruel, it's just full of mean people. Remove the people from the world and what you have left. And a world full of venomous men, the good girl theory doesn't work. Being a nice girl doesn't secure any woman a man. Yet, many try to follow the good girl role. Because women are afraid to be who they are due to labels being placed on them mainly by society and other women. I was picked on for going to church. As I previously stated, mean girls go to church too. But the meanest ones are outside in the world. I was bullied and told that I thought that I was better than the other regular girls. I was told that all I was doing was putting on an act and that I wanted it just like the regular girls. Keep in mind, those insults came from other women, not men. I thought that men could be harsh and degrading towards women, but women who are verbally insulting towards other women do so because of self-hatred. Most mean girls grow up to be wicked, tacky women who tear down other women because it makes them feel powerful and in control. Those women feel they cannot exercise the power over men for fear of being seen as aggressive. Instead, it is better to be cool, passive, and submissive around a man, keeping the cat claws hidden. Here is something else to notice about mean girls. They travel in packs and they stalk the weakest girl. This is similar to what males do when they pursue women. They persuade them. They see that they have low self-esteem, women who lack the ability or the courage to fight back. Think about this. What kind of man feels the need to conquer, control, degrade women in order to establish that they are superior? As I was taught in the beginning, Eve gave Adam the apple to eat. And when God wanted to place blame for disobeying his laws, he called first Adam. I wonder who was the weak link in that situation. No matter how we play the blame game, no one wins. Love is not supposed to be hard work. Mistakes will be made, some lies told, and secrets will be kept. This is because couples are busy trying to control their mates. We treat our partners as though we are their parents trying to raise them. That job was already done. Women don't need husbands or boyfriends playing the role of their fathers. These same men also become our interrogators, interviewing us before after we've been out with them. And in some cases, if we fail to give them the answers they want to hear, we are accused of being unfaithful, liars, and much worse, called whores. Men can and will go out and do all kinds of unspeakable acts of debauchery. And when they're asked questions about their manly behavior, women are charged with mistrustful and insecure. To add to this, the advancement in our community, devices such as pagers and cell phones, these gadgets turn into trackers in relationships, mostly for women. During my single years, I enjoyed my privacy, not having a man intrude into my every crack of my life was something that I cherish and which I've become protective of. Most people have this absurd idea that once you're in a relationship, you have no privacy. You're not supposed to have any privacy. Well, not in my world. There was a difference between keeping secrets and privacy. I believe in setting boundaries now. As I stated before, I'm protective of my privacy. I've learned and I've lived most of my life being I was told that I needed to be an open book and keeping some details about my life from my mate is considered an act of selfishness. And that I was being inconsiderate of his feelings because I wanted to keep some aspects of my personal life to myself. So I was labeled sneaky, and sneaky women can't be trusted. I know some women and men who search through each other's apartments, looking through drawers, checking pockets, looking through personal papers, hacking into computers and cell phones to read their emails and text messages. I once had an ex admit it to me that he rummaged through my desk and looked through my phone book. And although I found this out years later, after we parted ways and he apologized, I felt that he did that only because he didn't find any information to use against me. I was annoyed that he had crossed the lines into my private space. Armed with this information, I guarded my belongings. I never allow a man to be alone in my home. I moved my desk into my bedroom with locked drawers, and the file cabinets that contain my important documents are locked as well. To my readers, this may seem like a lot of whining. However, I know that there are those who are able to relate to some of the things that I am saying. I know that thousands upon thousands of women from every race, culture, religion, and beliefs have at some point lived their lives and at least walked in my shoes at least. So there you have it. Pause. That's a chapter from my book, The Waiting Game, that is available on Amazon.com. You can also find it on floydbooks.com. You can buy it directly from me. You can find me on YouTube, Conversations with JR. You can find me on Facebook. Join me, Conversations with JR. I hope that this conversation that we are having about my reminiscence that I've written about in my book, The Waiting Game, about the relationship myths and how some of these myths can lead us into dysfunctional relationships and dysfunctional situationships. And I use the word dysfunctional situationships because, yeah, I got into some of those dysfunctional situationships. And I wrote about it. And I'm an open book about it. So there you have it. I thank you for joining the reading of my book, The Waiting Game. I cannot wait to hear your comments. I cannot wait to hear that you have bought my book. I cannot wait to hear how this book helps you to heal. And I hope that you are sharing it with others. Until the next time, I thank you for joining Conversations with JR.